day that the press were really looking forward to. It was time to find out why Ferrari had got into such a pickle and why Hulkenberg and Rosberg aren't really talking to each other. And Ferrari have confirmed this has all been down to the development cycle of their team. Now this year, Ferrari have stated that upgrades have been very, very difficult for them, and so far, they've only been able to apply upgrades to one car at one time at each race. So, an example of this was at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Nico Rosberg was received a front wing upgrades for his car. Now, they couldn't then implement that onto Hulkenberg's car because development-wise, they just simply couldn't. We don't know the ins and outs, obviously, of Ferrari's development, so we don't expect to hear anything about that, but Ferrari basically said it could only be done one time per car. Now, where did the issues lie? Ferrari, there was a communication issue between one of the top chief mechanics in terms of which car is getting the upgrades at the time. So with Rosberg and Hulkenberg not realising who got the upgrades, when they saw that their other teammates had an upgrade on their car, they felt robbed by it and were frustrated. And then because no one said, oh right, this is actually for Rosberg's car, they were both stealing upgrades from each other's cars and putting it onto theirs. Most examply, the front wing. The front wing that was on Rosberg's car in Brazil was all of a sudden on Hulkenberg's car in the race. And that's because the mechanics took it off Rosberg's car and put it onto Hulkenberg's. And obviously Rosberg has been keeping quiet about this entire situation because he didn't really want to get involved in it. He just wanted to get on with the races, and when he knew everything was going to come out to the press, that's when he would go ahead and do it. But it was actually both drivers that were causing problems. Now, why did Verstappen and Bottas have to separate Hulkenberg and Rosberg? Well, the reason for that is because both of them found out that they were stealing the upgrades from each other, and they were the ones asking the mechanics to take the upgrades off. It was Rosberg and Hulkenberg who were the ones that were talking about this. And the team didn't say who would have the upgrades, and that caused all the arguments. So Ferrari have now issued the ultimatum. Both Nico Rosberg and Nico Hulkenberg are allowed to stay at Ferrari. No one's going to get refired, no one's going to get sacked or anything. It was a complete managerial collapse. And obviously, Ferrari said that this is something that they were expecting, considering the management change that they've had to go through after the course of last season. Now, they've said that both of them can stay, but they'll review that at the end of the season. From now on, each team and each driver will be told which car is having an upgrade per weekend or so forth, and they will try and remove complications going forward. But that's all we can tell from Ferrari. It's an absolute manic chaos, and yeah, interesting to see that it was both parties that were stealing it, which is why now it brings the question as, why has everyone been back in Hulkenberg, and all of a sudden now Rosberg and Hulkenberg have both been criminals and victims in this entire situation? I don't think the story is over just yet, though. Let's see and find out, but let's get into the news heading into this race. Alright, so heading into the news then for this German Grand Prix, Mercedes are using a special German Grand Prix livery for this race. Of course, we know Mercedes have been using a black and blue livery for this season, and they've gone ahead and removed all of the blue for the car for this weekend, and on the engine cover, rather than the blue gradients that we've used to be seeing, there is now a German flag on there, as a nice little tribute for the manufacturer's home race. Also, the numbers on the car have now changed to red rather than blue. This is a German Grand Prix livery thing only, and Mercedes will go back to the black and blue from Austria onwards. Now, Audi, Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes are all looking very close in the fight for pole position and also for the race. It looks like McLaren have got the edge on the one lap pace, but Mercedes are definitely very, very fast in especially the cooler conditions that we saw in FP3. Now, of course, in the race, we are expecting cool conditions, which could suit them in the race. And finally, Porsche were not happy with their qualifying pace, but the race pace looked very, very strong. Charles Leclerc very positive heading into the Grand Prix weekend as he looks to try and bounce back and score some more points after failing to do so for the last few races. But for now, let's get straight into the qualifying and the race for the German Grand Prix. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video. It's been a while since my previous video, but I'll be making a video very, very soon explaining where I've been, what I'm doing, future plans, all that jazz. But welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 Journey as well. And we're here for the German Grand Prix. And as you would have seen in the pre-race news, you would notice that obviously you'll see it mostly in the replay cam. So we do have a special little German Grand Prix livery here. Obviously, it is the team's home race, so I thought I'd give us a little bit of a German special livery. So, without further ado, let's get straight into things. Let's see how we go. So first of all then, into qualifying, and our first run was a banker lap. Pretty rubbish, not gonna lie. On this second lap, much better, more improved. Really you can already tell there how much I was able to attack the final corner and just getting a much better exit there across the line. It's only 0.6 off, but it's already down in P13. So at the moment, qualifying is not looking that good for myself as we try and do our best here. But as you can see now in our final qualifying run here, we're 3/10 up on our best lap time as we go in towards the stadium section here. I probably maybe should have lifted out of 7th gear. I was a bit too slow through there. But anyway, going through this final portion here, very difficult, tight and narrow section here. But as you can see, we're really attacking every element of the track. And I've got much more performance this time around. Much better overall across the line. We're 6/10 up on our best lap. It's across the line for P5 on the grid. And if we can stay around about that proportion in terms of the grid's order, once we finish, that is a stunning place to start. And it is going to be that. It's a front row start for McLaren, though. Sam on pole position with a 1:11.7, 4 cents quicker than anybody else. Then it's Lando Norris in the second place there, ahead of George Russell and Pascal Wehrlein. So it's McLaren ahead of Red Bull, and then myself, and then the 2 Audis, and then the 2 Ferraris. So a bit of a Constantine of grid there, apart from obviously myself sort of bullying and splitting all of that. Reese qualifying down to P12. He was only 3/10 off me, but that just shows how close the grid was today. In fact, if you count out obviously the likes of the BMWs, or even you could put Bottas in there, 1.8 seconds separated the top 18 cars, and with Sam obviously being 4/10 quicker, that's 1.4 separating the rest, which is incredible. Moving on though into the Grand Prix, and yeah, the entire race is going to be dry tyres, wet track. So you thought that the F1 journey was a nice serious series. Well, think again. It's time for some dry tyres, wet track for the entire Grand Prix, and it's lights out. Away we go here to start the German Grand Prix. Good start initially from us there as we now go alongside Pascal Wehrlein in towards turn 1. We go very wide on the exit there, and I actually go ahead and back off a little bit and allow Pascal Wehrlein just a little bit ahead. I made sure that I kept side by side with him because, of course, I was side by side into turn 1 as we nearly go into the back of George Russell there. But on the exit of turn 2, that's going to give us the run that we need, and I sort of give Pascal a little bit of a bump there as we try and navigate our way through, and you can see the German flag. There is a bit of carbon fibre comes off in the background there. As you can see, the special livery that we're rocking as well. As you can see, look at all the cars going side by side now as they fly up towards the hairpin corner now. We're trying to take our line here. It is Sam, still ahead of Lando Norris. Then it's George Russell, myself. The 2 Audis now coming into it together. So all of a sudden, Pascal Wehrlein has had a horrible start to things after starting right up ahead of us now, as Hamilton now fights alongside Sebastian Vettel. This is Vettel's home Grand Prix, of course. And now Hamilton, oh my goodness gracious me, that was so close to Vettel. How on earth did he just save that? Hamilton just completely barged Vettel out of the way there, and somehow fantastic saving there from Vettel to get in front of that. And I'm sure Audi are going to have words about that afterwards. That was some crazy racing there on the opening lap there. Horrible exchange. That could have been so bad for both cars now. But as you can see, back on board with us here as we try and navigate, you can see, look how difficult it is out there. It is literally full-on dry tyres, wet track right now. Of course, it is still dry enough, otherwise we'd be in for intermediates, but you can see how difficult it is. The tyres are cold, and obviously with a track that's slippery and damp, it's not going to help us out as we cross the line, but you can see there in the bottom left of your screen there, we were the fastest man in the final sector, so already I was starting to see that I had good pace in these conditions compared to my rivals as we now go in towards turn 2 here, and it was very difficult because I had to re-navigate my braking zones. Of course, it is still dry tyres, and it's in dry conditions, but obviously I'm still having to brake a little bit earlier out of each corner and go a little bit slower through them. As you can see now, there's the German flag on the back of my Mercedes car, and as you can see now, as we go up in towards the hairpin now, Russell a little bit far away, but we are going to try and go for a little bit of a dive here because Russell is behind Norris now. Go very tight on the apex there, short, shove him out wide a little bit there, very late on the brake overtake, but it was one that we did, and we did it very well there. So we're now up towards 3rd place now. As you can see, Hülkenberg there is in front of Pascal Wehrlein. I wonder if that's for position or if that's for Hülkenberg defending against Pascal, but obviously the 2 Audis are there. But now, back on board with ourselves here, as it's been a crazy start to the race. We now have just the McLarens in front of us now, and we don't need to worry about anyone else behind. So it is myself versus these 2 McLarens. Reese is having a bit of an off weekend, and obviously it seems like it's going to be up to me to really put in the performance for this car. So without further ado, we just need to keep pressing onwards and getting on with it. Lando Norris now, you can already see, look, in the final sector, how we're just closing up on the back of that McLaren. We've just got so much better grip in these early stages of the race. This is where I need to start taking advantage of that as we go a little bit wide on the exit of the corner there. We set a 122.3, not the fastest lap of the race though, so Sam has got some great pace, but through turn 1 there, it's a really good run. And now as we close up to the back of Norris here, we're using rich mixture. I've got a lot of fuel on board, which may cost me obviously in the early phases of this race, but it's going to allow me to just push that that ever harder against my rivals. And as you can see now, we've got a fabulous run on Lando Norris. You can see that we're much quicker in this stage of the race against him now as we go into the slipstream and the DRS. Despite the fact that McLaren has got the best package out of anybody on the grid, it's going to be nothing to stop as we go in towards the hairpin. Norris actually brakes a little later in the hairpin than myself, but I just get that better run through there. So by braking a slightly bit earlier, I'm just able to get a better rotation and set myself up better for the exit there. Norris on the outside was always a little bit flustered there, and now that is us up into second place, and Sam is the only man that we need to now catch. Moving on though to further back on the grid now, I'm catching up back on with this massive scrap here. In other words, race 2 of this Formula 1.5 of the Grand Prix now, as Vettel and Hamilton are going to reignite their hefty exchange at the start of this race. Now the two Audis go side by side into the hairpin. Now Hamilton is going to have the inside line, but he doesn't quite go as aggressive there as what I've been doing. But again, this is the AI, so don't really trust him on that. But Hamilton there with a much better exit now as we go through towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand. It's going to be a very easy defensive maneuver there for him. However, further on into the Grand Prix now, as you can see here, it is Hamilton once again still in front, but this time you can see there in the background, Hulkenberg is having to defend against Pascal Wehrlein, and we might just try and turn on to that unless I am stupid and I didn't change the replay camera. Sorry guys. And as you can see now, we're onto the back straight here. Vettel will have DRS on Hamilton. Hulkenberg's going to have DRS on Vettel. Wehrlein has got DRS on Hulkenberg. In fact, Wehrlein's going for it now in towards the hairpin, but as you can see, look, Hulkenberg with a slightly better power unit than what Pascal Wehrlein's got is still able to stay ahead because he's got the DRS from the two Audis in front. If those two Audis were not there, I don't see why Hulkenberg will be able to hold on to that position anymore. Look at the sliding that we got through there now. Lap 6 of the Grand Prix. Sam has already pitted for a brand new set of tyres. On this occasion, I actually stayed out a lap longer than what Sam did, and I tried to do the overcut, and I was the fastest. I went purple in sectors 1 and 2, so this is a great opportunity to pit now, get out in front of Sam, and do the overcut on him, because we were slowly but surely closing the gap as we've been held in the pits by Lando Norris out of everybody. Oh, that's actually a bit of a pain there. So Lando Norris playing the team player there, and he held me up in the pit. So all that I had done, that's Sam there going past Esteban Ocon, and that is really frustrating. If I wasn't held up by in fact, actually, to be honest, if I wasn't held up by Norris, I might have been a little bit closer there to the back of Sam. We were fastest in the first 2 sectors, which is so frustrating there as Sam now gets past Esteban Ocon. But weirdly enough, Sam there is on another set of ultra soft tyres in this race. Yeah, he is. Sam's on a fresh set of ultras, so he's doing a different strategy. But look at that. Oh my, that's just embarrassing. That is so fast for that McLaren to just breeze past everybody here. And now I'm in trouble here, because here comes Charles Leclerc now. Goes for a dive in towards the hairpin. Who says that the 2018 AIs don't do dive bombs? Because Charles Leclerc has just mugged me off there around down the inside of that hairpin. And he's off into the distance now. Obviously, I'm on cold the tyres. I've just come out of the pits. Russell is now right on the back of me here. But Charles Leclerc, fair play to him, has just completely mugged me off down the inside. Done the dive bomb, and he's done a great job with it. Fair play to Charles, but that's really frustrating me. And now I've got to push even harder to get onto the back of Sam. Speaking of Sam, he's already closed up to the back of my teammate Reese, who is stuck behind the rear of Max Verstappen. So obviously Reese on soft tyres. Yeah, there it is. Look, ultra soft tyres for Sam. So he is definitely stopping again. Whereas at the moment, I don't need to stop again in this race. I can go to the end of the race on these set of soft tyres. However, for Sam, he will have to stop again. Although, actually, did I need to stop again for another set? So I can't even remember, to be honest. I'm pretty sure I probably have to stop again. I don't even know. But as you can see there, Sam now goes towards the inside of racing towards someone. That puts him off ever so slightly now. And that's going to give the Jaguar an opportunity here to have a look. That also gives Ocon a look. In fact, Reese just lost out to everybody there. So that's not gone well. Although at one point in this race, Reese did have a mechanical issue. My engineer came on the radio and told me. So I'm not quite sure when that was. But it might be, I think it's around about now that Reese has now just been got the problems here. But as you can see now, the Jaguar here, Pierre Gasly now goes on the attack. But meanwhile, going back to our POV now, we're now attacking Charles Leclerc in towards the hairpin. And it's going to be a complete mirror of what happened last time. But that time around, we got such a better drive through the hairpin there. And we were able to pull in to the normal racing line for the hairpin. Unlike on that occasion when Charles passed me, he sort of had to just do a little bit more work for it. But now as we go in towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand, at the moment, it's Mercedes-Benz 5 and 6. Now, of course, in a moment, I'm obviously in a net P2 right now, because that's where I've been in terms of my battle with Sam. But obviously, I need to try and get onto the back of Reese as the car slides a little bit there. Now, at this stage of the race, this is when Reese was having the mechanical issues. You can already see how much slower he is compared to the other drivers. And now I really need to fight. This is just not the place that I want to be on the back of Reese. You can already see, look, how much he's struggling here. And I'll get a better run through here. I decided to just go for it, and Reese there backs off. I was a little bit aggressive there on Reese, but I caught him in the wrong location. If I managed to catch him where we are now on this straight, it would have been fine. I could have gone for it towards turn 1, but annoyingly, I just couldn't. And now as we continue on our way here, Sam, I believe, has just gone down the inside of one of the Porsche cars there. And I think that's Max Verstappen. Yeah, it is. It's Verstappen. So, Sam now, as he goes in towards, there he is, just in towards turn 3 now. He is, at the moment, now leading the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, I've got to get past Ocon, and I've got to get past Gasly as well. So this is going to be frustrating. So the fastest first sector of the race so far. On the left-hand side of your screen is myself attacking Ocon and Gasly. On the right-hand side of your screen is Reese now under pressure from one of the Porsche cars. We now go back on boards here and have a look at all perspectives here. We go down the inside of Ocon. I now sneak my nose in on Pierre Gasly. Do the double overtake there in towards the hairpin. Critical overtake there. As we now look further back here, you can see Reese there has lost out to the Porsche cars. He's lost out pretty much everywhere in that kerfuffle there. And that's not helped him out now as we open up the DRS here and attack Verstappen. 122.1, fast lap the Grand Prix so far. Really pushing on these set of tyres now as we go in towards turn 1. Missed the apex slightly, but still managed to recover it, which is pretty decent there as we're now in the DRS of the Porsche car here. He's doing a great job, by the way, on a set of soft tyres. He's probably going to go soft, medium, and then leave it like that. Whereas, obviously, we're doing ultra soft, soft, maybe another set of soft. Can't even remember. Probably should have looked at the strategy at the start of the race. But anyway, now, as we go up towards the hairpin, this should really be quite a simple overtake here because we're in the slipstream of Verstappen, and also we've got one of the Renault cars there having a look at the Jaguar there. I'm not sure which one it was, but as you can see, that's us making the overtake. That's Ocon going down the inside of Gasly. So Ocon and Gasly having a really good scrap here today as Norris now goes down the inside of Charles Leclerc as George Russell gets involved in the act there. So now Lando Norris is making up some progress because obviously he stopped as well and needs to get on with it as we now ride on board with the Porsche car here of Charles Leclerc. He's under pressure from Pascal Wehrlein as we now breeze our way through here in towards the hairpin corner now. And that's Ocon in front there having a look now at Pierre Gasly once again. Those two really going for it in this Grand Prix now. It's a rivalry that's cracking on here between the Renault and the Jaguar cars. Of course, Jaguar in front of Renault in the championship. We've seen in the last 2 races how they've been improving Renault. And now, as you can see, we're back on board here with Charles Leclerc, who is under pressure once again this time around from George Russell now as he tries to find a way through, just not having the luck at the moment in this stage of the race in the traffic. But side by side now as they make the drag race here, this is going to be a great opportunity now for George to get the overtake done. He'll have DRS. Charles Leclerc won't have DRS on this occasion. This should give him the overtake that he needs. Norris is now attacking the Jaguar of Pierre Gasly in front, down in towards the hairpin this time around. It's not worked out for George Russell. He doesn't quite make the overtake stick, but he holds it on the exit of the hairpin. But Charles gets the drive that he needs to get out of there now as Norris in front there attacks one of the Jaguars. He's going to go to the outside line on the Mercedes-Benz grandstand of Pierre Gasly. Lovely fighting this one, holds it around the outside. Great overtake there by Lando Norris, and that is a well-earned overtake for him. Meanwhile, back on board with ourselves, that is Sam there, coming into the pits for his next stop of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, I nearly said while. Oh well. We now go across the line. We set 122.5. Really consistent pace at the moment as we now go in towards someone. As the back end slides, that was so close there. Had to get onto the brakes then to stop the car from sliding into the wall there. Got onto the AstroTurf, and that really put us off as we now go back on board with Wehrlein and Leclerc having a great scrap here, and that's Sam there coming out of the pit. So that's how far back now Sam is from this lot, but we know how fast that McLaren is in a straight line. He's going to have no problems getting through the traffic. So for Sam, really, traffic is not an issue for McLaren in this entire season because their car is just rapid. So it's all about now, where on earth can they feed out? But as you can see there, Gasly doing a good job sticking with Norris as Leclerc says, nah, I'm not going to let you through, and just goes and breezes past him. So yeah, it's a bit upsetting there for Russell. Meanwhile, speaking of Russell still, further to the end of the lap now, Sam's already on the back of him, and as they go in towards turn 1, Russell finally tries to do something audacious here, and attacks Charles Leclerc there. Charles goes into the back of Sam now, so that's a really close encounter there. Sam lucky not to get any front wing damage. He now goes around the outside. It's another set of ultra soft tyres for Sam in this Grand Prix. What on earth are McLaren doing with the strategy for Sam? He's going all out aggression now, but as you can see this time, George Russell is in front of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's going to have DRS on Russell, but Russell's got DRS on Sam, so this should really be the opportunity for Russell to stick it in now and stay ahead, and he does just that. Meanwhile, Sam, I told you the traffic wasn't going to be an issue for Sam. It really isn't, because here he goes once again in towards turn 1 now. He goes around past the Jaguar car, goes a little bit wide on the exit. The Jaguar tries to come back, Gasly, Gasly, but DRS is once again enabled. This time now Russell is on the back of the Jaguar car, Pierre Gasly. Sam, once again though, has no issues getting past there and can just carry on his way really, because no one's really going to intercept him in any form of way. And as you can already see, the amount of grip that he's got compared to the Jaguar car. This time Pascal Wehrlein though, will he have a go on the Jaguar car? He's got to make this one stick. He can't afford to be in a scrap for too much longer, because Charles Leclerc will come back at him otherwise. He has a look towards the outside line, but it's not going to work for him on that occasion. So unfortunately for Russell, he has to wait a different time before he can go for it. And this time could just be now as they go on to the next lap here. Here comes Russell down the inside. The same thing as he did to Charles Leclerc, and he does that, but this time they both hanging in there just a little bit now. But Russell gets the move done on the Jaguar car, and as you can see, as before, now it's going to be Russell that's going to be under pressure from the DRS and the slipstream and everything like that, and he's going to have to deal with the likes of the Porsche car now coming back at him again. But Charles is now in a good position. He lost out a little bit because of that contact between himself and Sam. Now he can try and get back in the fight and try and get involved once again. But here comes the Jaguar car now off Pierre Gasly towards the outside line of the hairpin. Russell this time defends the inside line of the hairpin. In towards that hairpin we go now. Russell gets the move done and stays in front, and now he can try and build that gap through the part of the circuit where he is much, much faster than the other cars behind him. And finally for George, he's out of that slipstream train. Meanwhile for Sam, he is now onto the back of Lando Norris, and well, this is going to be quite a simple overtake now in towards turn 1. That seems to be his favourite place to overtake people, because he just loves just shoving them wide, and that's what he does on a regular basis. But now as you can see, he's in front of Lando Norris, and now he just needs to breeze onwards and build up a gap. So for Sam in that case, it's really not that difficult for him. As you can see now, he breezes onwards. Norris really isn't going to get that far ahead. Now we skip all the way to lap 32 of the Grand Prix in this race. And as you can see here, this is when in the Grand Prix it turned to intermediate tyres that were necessary. But obviously with there's so little time left in the Grand Prix, I decided not to take a pit stop. I just decided to go for it. Norris was not really closing the gap. Sam, however, in these conditions was somehow mightily fast and could just blitz past everyone. Bottas, meanwhile, is now right on my backside here, and I really don't need this right now because I'm in trouble right now in this race, really struggling for performance. You can see Bottas there, he's on intermediate tyres, and actually, to be honest, if I pitted for intermediate tyres in hindsight, I don't know, might have been able to have got in front of Sam, but you can already see, look at the grip that Bottas has got as he breezes away there. If I stop for inters, I don't know, I might have been able to do something. Lap 34 now, the final lap of the Grand Prix, and the gap's 6 seconds out front now. There's Verstappen there, I get all out of shape on exit of turn 1 there, and Sam all the time is closing up onto the back of me here, and I meanwhile, I'm so struggling so much, but look where Bottas is now. Bottas is on the run up towards the hairpin. Meanwhile, I've only just started the straight, and Bottas, remember, took over my position 2 laps ago, or if you remember that, it was only 2 laps ago that Bottas overtook me, and he's breezing past. But for Sam, look at the gap there, 6.8 seconds. He's started to lose out some time, but he is closing it all the while because he's been dealing with the traffic in the same time. But you can see it is now full on time for intermediate tyres. Dry tyres will not work, but obviously I'm not going to stop again for another set of tyres when there's just no time. Obviously we're now on the last lap of the Grand Prix, but look how far Perez has got already. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm just still looking at Bottas. He's now just gone into the right-hander just before the stadium section, and he's literally almost a sector clear of myself now. So in theory, I probably could have pitted and stayed out and got in front of Sam there as the back end steps out even more now, as we've got yet another lapped car coming past, which is Nico Rosberg on this occasion. But I'm just taking it very slowly, very gingerly, not trying to lose some time here. As Sam now just 5.6 seconds back. He's managed to find 1.2 seconds in the middle sector. Something tells me that Sam doesn't actually have any effect right now with this conditions. But as you can see, sliding our way through the final corners now. This has been a very well executed race from myself. We've been aggressive, we've been fighting, and we've managed to do the better race and the better strategy against Sam. But this time around, we stopped McLaren's streak. We crossed the line to win the German Grand Prix, which is absolutely sensational. We weren't able to win our home Grand Prix at Silverstone, but we were able to win our team's home Grand Prix at Germany, and I'll take that. And as you can see, it's myself ahead of the 2 McLarens. Russell, Ocon with a brilliant 5th, same with Leclerc and Gasly. Pascal Wehrlein, Vettel, and Hamilton round out the top 10 with, I believe, only Reese and Ricciardo DNFing. So let's get on into the championship standings and the post-race notebook. At the Drivers' Championship after this race, as you can see, the championship lead now is 28 points from myself and Sam. Started to turn into a 2-horse race now, of course. This is a time period. This is a critical win for myself, obviously, after Sam has been on a great run of form recently, and we can try and take that moving forward to one of my favourite tracks of Austria next before we go to some tracks like like Russia, Japan, Singapore, which are going to really hamper me in those races because I'm not quite as strong. Pascal Wehrlein is on 92 points. He's really slipped away in this championship. Such a strong start to the season for him, and now it's obviously all just falling apart. Vettel now jumps in front of Reese. Of course, Reese failing to score points today, and Reese obviously needs to try and bounce back in the future. And Lewis Hamilton is now tied on points with Charles Leclerc, so it's getting quite interesting in that battle as well. And then, of course, we've got George Russell, who's also getting very, very close. He's had an amazing second half of the season, and it keeps getting better. And then we've obviously got Lando Norris on 47 points, trying to move up the order a bit, and Pierre Gasly there on 36 points. Moving on then into the Constructors' Championship, and as you can see, Mercedes, we have now passed 206 points, and we've got a very comfortable margin at the top of the championship. However, McLaren do close up to Mercedes at the top of the championship. Of course, with myself obviously scoring 25 points, McLaren scored 33 points today. So McLaren do actually close in on us. Aston Martin, Red Bull have now got in front of Audi. It wasn't a really good race for Audi. George Russell doing the job there and really starting to help Red Bull now in that Constructors' Championship. And they're still in with a chance, the two of them, to overtake McLaren, with Mercedes just that little bit further ahead at the moment. Porsche now get a good amount of points on the board. They're on 64 points. They're slowly but surely trying to pull away from Jaguar on 47 points. Ferrari still once again struggling, and now with Renault getting a good point scoring haul with Ocon in P4, that has now put Ferrari under pressure from Renault, and they may be overtaken in the future races. Obviously, Lamborghini still not scoring points again. And BMW, to be honest, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any points coming from BMW anytime soon. But without further ado, all that being done, let's get into the post-race notebook, wrap up the episodes, and we will see you guys next time out. Finally then, having a look at the post-race notebook for the German Grand Prix, Tom says that he is extremely happy to bounce back with a win at Germany. Of course, it's not been the greatest of runs so far for Tom, obviously doing a decent job in Hungary, but doing a poor result in Silverstone last time around. To get this win in Germany has really put him on the right direction. Sam, meanwhile, has questioned McLaren's crazy strategy for this German Grand Prix. Of course, Sam decided to use virtually every single set of ultra soft tyres available, whereas Tom decided to do a basic strategy and managed to come out on top. Sam believes that if they were put onto a much more normal strategy compared to the rest of the fields, he much would have preferred to do that and would have had a much better run at it, and felt that he could have won if he did it that way. Ocon also believes that Renault are almost there with their performance after P5 today. Ocon believes that Renault are still very much lacking in terms of performance, but he does believe that Renault are now on the right tracks and can almost get into the top scraps very, very soon. But that is going to be everything, obviously, for the German Grand Prix. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed today's episode. If you have, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe if you're new around here to the channel as well. And we will see you guys next time for the Austrian Grand Prix, where hopefully we can continue and build up a little bit of a streak once again. Take care all, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.